I've been calling Peter Perkins an electrical engineer for a long time now. The problem is, it's not true. He's a computer engineer. So you see, the problem is worse than I thought. I would have felt more comfortable with a mechanical engineer who could write creatively. An electrical engineer would have been slightly more difficult. But a computer engineer? I'm supposed to be able to drop thumbtacks on the ground so he can count them in 3 seconds. But he can also write a poem. I'm outgunned. How would you like it, Peter? If I butted into one of your computer engineering fests and said something like, at this point in the writing process, I went to look up computer engineering jargon so I could say something exactly like a robot would. But I was tempted by Google when it offered this instead, computer engineering salary. Guess how much future Peter is going to make? Guess how much future Peter would be worth if he lived on rice cakes and baked beans and rain, and lived in a semi-mobile shed, and drove a scooter to his computer engineering job, and lived until he was 100 years old? Guess! The internet gave me an idea. Hey, Peter. Have you ever heard of disposable income? It's a thing. And it's especially a thing when you've been making more money than the President of the United States and living on rice cakes and rain. Look, Peter, do you know why the Renaissance happened? It happened because people like Michelangelo, Raphael, Leonardo, Donatello, and Master Splinter had patrons. They had wealthy people who supported them financially so they could use their time not working for bread and butter, but carving, drawing, painting, philosophizing. Imagine if Da Vinci had to chisel out his bread and butter from the intellectual coal mines of a Division III private college in western Pennsylvania. Leo's most famous painting, The Last Supper, would never have risen above a doodle in a coffee ring on an English 101 paper, trapped inside the ring like a goldfish damned to die inside a dusty snow globe. Peter, I've looked at your future salary. In your semi-mobile shed, you will be able to afford to feed 39 children, eliminate 7 of those children, and imagine in their place someone like me. Someone so much like me that it's me. And this is me asking you, Peter, for help. My requirements are slight. I need a hobbit hole, some perfect seclusion, and fat pants. I'll emerge every 3 years and you can check up on my work. The trouble is, why would Peter be a patron to a writer when he's a writer himself? You can drop tacks and he'll count them, probably before they hit the ground, but then he'll also write a poem, an essay, a story. It's not fair. But as I always say, if you can't beat him, invite him to read at GRS. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Peter Perkins.
Thank you. I guess I gotta speak now. Okay, so I have 2 pieces tonight. One's a poem, one's a story. Both pretty self-explanatory. The story, don't take it too seriously. Okay, so the first one is a poem. It's called The Engineer's Lament. Some of you may have heard this before, but it's another draft, so whatever. Okay, here goes. The numbers and laws will pop in my mind of how something works the way it's designed. The guts of devices, the gears of machines, are motion and forces and rules I see. The theories are easy, the methods are quick, just physics equations and calculus here. The models are simple, it's easy to link, equations to pictures to numbers, I think. Dynamics and statics, fluids and thermo all fall into place, each has its own tempo. Transistors, capacitors, computers, and C are easy to grasp for someone like me. But then I consider the problem of humans. I'm completely befuddled. The order is gone. The rules are vague and the model's uncertain. The math is, at best, approximation. Humans think, but they feel, so they'll make some decision that often ignores the logical way. Emotion and instinct both serve them well while still undermining the rule of reason. When pondering this, I reached the conclusion, the one rational human is in my mind. But then I realized that human is dead. He twitched a little, which I mistook for life. Crushed under the weight of my rules, he died. I knew the genetics and the anatomy, but now the philosophy, and now the reality. There's no denying that I'm human too. Maybe God made you so you can't be explained with numbers and theory and natural laws. You're kind of like God, at least half eternal, a ray with beginning, but not with an end. So perhaps to keep you from being reduced to programs and circuits to be mass-produced, God made you a system, efficient, robust, then added a dash of quirks to the dust, and breathed in his spirit and formed you to be someone who cannot be mimicked by me. All right, here's a story. This one's uninventively called engineering. Here goes. My Geneva story begins in my freshman year, as you may have expected. I thought I could put a little effort into my classes and receive decent grades, like I did in high school. My delusions left me after the first round of tests, and for a few days I wandered the campus aimlessly, my failed exams hanging by my side. A day or so later, I bumped into a classmate. I wouldn't have noticed him, but he looked a lot worse than me. Sleepless eyes, Einstein hair, staggering around like a drunken zombie. When I asked him what was wrong, I was surprised that he also had failed his first tests. We quickly realized that we might not be the only ones, and indeed, we weren't. Others began to make the same connections, and by the end of the day, that cluster of isolated freshman engineers turned into a network of comrades. Around the same time, our professors changed. No longer benevolent mentors, they now poured work on us like buckets of water on drowning men. In lecture, we scribbled equations, notes, theories, graphs, rules, laws, and exceptions as fast as the professors could hurl them at us, striving to keep up with the never-ending train of PowerPoint slides. We'd finish homework between classes, work on lab reports and projects and Alex's, and study for tests until we were kicked out of Sky. We struggled through the semester and made it to advising time. Me, I had no idea what I wanted to do, so I asked some friends what they were doing and copied off their schedules. I scribbled the course codes down a few minutes before my advisor meeting and entered his office. It was a dimly lit room, crowded with bookshelves, heaps of paper, folders. He asked me for my list of classes and I gave it to him. He glanced at it and said, "You're only taking 14 credits? You should be taking at least 17 to stay on track." I was taking 16 that semester and feeling buried under the workload, but I hadn't had my advisor for a class yet. As far as I knew, I was still on his good side. "Absolutely," I said. "What do you recommend?" "Humanities 103, he said. "Find a section that fits and add it to your schedule." I wasn't sure what that was, and I was too busy to care. I took the list, wrote it down, and left to go work on another project. The rest of the semester was tough, but after the torrent of exams, projects, and labs, my comrades and I went home for Christmas and basically slept. Actually, we did pretty well. Most of us passed. We do not speak of the others. Like I said, I spent most of my Christmas break sleeping, and I returned to Geneva, mostly recovered. On the first Monday, at the 11 o'clock hour, I made my way to Humanities 103, took my syllabus, and sat down. It seemed like a normal syllabus day, no cell phones, don't cheat, blah, 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 you know. It wasn't until 10 minutes later that the professor's words actually started to sink in, and I realized I must be in the wrong class. Death? Revolution? Love? So I raised my hand and I said, "I think I'm in the wrong class." The professor stopped lecturing and turned to me. "Oh? Yeah, is this Humanities 103? I'm an engineer, so I should be learning about, real life." Apparently, this professor has engineering students before, so he handled it graciously. "Yes, this is Humanities 103, and this is as real as life gets. Death, love, revolution, and calling. What more is there?" Science and math?" "Maybe, if that's your calling," he said. "But you won't be solving any equations here. Look, we still have a good bit of ground to cover, so if you want to discuss it, come talk to me after class." I slumped in my chair, and he continued lecturing. Had someone changed my major without me noticing? I'm a computer engineer. I deal with ones and zeros, programs and signals. Art? There's no art to coding, no aesthetics in engineering. Ask the Engineering 101 class on what's always ranked bottom of the list. If there was, maybe I could see a reason for taking this course. These thoughts pestered me until the end of class. After that, I went up and tried to explain to the professor why I didn't need humanities. He listened to my first comments, then began talking about living in status viators, culture making, worldview, and a bunch of other stuff that really went over my head. About the only things I did get out were A, he was passionate about this stuff, and B, humanities were required for every major. He kept going on, and I managed to smile and nod my way out of the conversation after about 10 minutes. So it was about noon at this time, and I went to meet the other engineers for lunch. They asked me, how did classes go? So I told them. Some were as horrified as I was, but most not. They'd had the class before. But we started discussing why we needed to take humanities. Started muttering theories, and then finally an electrical engineer sat up. "I've got it," he said. We all turned to him. "They want us to take humanities so we're prepared for every possibility." A mechanical engineer spoke up. "Yeah, maybe our culture will experience a paradigm shift that will leave us out of jobs, and we'll only have use for things common to the human experience." We nearly lynched him then and there. After we sent him away to sit with the business majors. The electrical engineer explained his theory. They need to prepare us for the possibility that we'll change majors. If we do switch out of engineering, we'll need experience writing papers. This is to soften the blow for those of us who don't make it. Well, okay then, so what do we do? I asked. We've got to go talk to our advisors. Make sure they know we're serious about engineering and we won't be changing majors. That should get us out of it. It seemed like a reasonable plan. I had no classes in the next hour, so I decided I would visit my advisor. I rehearsed my arguments as I made my way towards the office. Around 1 o'clock, I knocked on his door. He swiveled around in his chair, and when he saw me, he smiled and gestured for me to come in. "Welcome. How can I help you?" he said, as I closed the door behind me. "Just one thing. Why did you have me sign up for humanities?" "It's a core requirement," he said. "But why? You think we'll become cultured? That may work for other people, but we're engineers." "Tell me what you think," he said. "Well, we think that you want us to take these courses to prepare us for any transition out of engineering. If we do, we're going to need more experience writing essays." He shook his head. "A good theory, but we are not that generous, especially not to the engineering apostate." "Then why?" "Because engineers do not enjoy life." What? Engineering students rarely enjoy life or even have any real contact with good things. And the solution to this is humanities, I see? She nodded. "Oh yes, but perhaps not the way you think. The humanities courses have excellent content, but of course it's all lost on the engineers. Still, it's not the knowledge you want to give them, but the experience. You see, the problem is compounded by the nature of engineering. There are hardly any females in engineering." "I beg your pardon?" I said. He continued, "We managed until the academic year of 85 to 86. That's 1885 to 86. In the graduating class of 20 mechanical engineers, 19 of them were male. They would often sabotage each other's work, forge paperwork to change each other's majors, and sometimes even resorted to physical violence. 3 were hospitalized after the linear circuits lab incident, and to prevent such disruptive events, we needed to force engineers to meet females outside their major. Exposed them to the world of outside of engineering, which made them almost normal." "Wait," I said. "You must have removed some engineering courses to make room for the humanities. Why not just remove them and, instead of assigning us humanities, give us extra free time?" "Because you're engineers," he said. "If you did have free time, you still wouldn't be improving your social lives." Fair enough. As I considered it, the genius of it grew before my eyes. I was beginning to understand why the humanities were so vital to study. My relief was so great that I almost laughed out loud. Faculty did have my best interests in mind. "So that's it," I said. "And why not just tell us?" "Because it does not work so well when they know it is happening," he says. "Now you're a special case. We only tell people like you because we don't want you to struggle too hard." "What do you mean, people like me?" He pulled a folder from the drawer and set it on a desk. It had my name and my student ID picture on the front. When we get incoming freshmen, each student is analyzed by a faculty member for the likelihood of the success for this method. Dr. Gidley, the one who designed this system, examined your file and he's never been wrong. Still, when we saw the results, we contacted the heads of the psychology department, the biology department, the Bible department, but they all confirmed what we saw. This approach will not work on you. What? There must be some mistake. I thought to myself. But Dr. Gidley and all the heads of the departments, that didn't make any sense. But every other move the faculty had made so far seemed logical, so he had to be telling the truth. I used the only weapon I had left. What makes you think I won't tell the others? I've only seen smiles like that right before I'm checkmated. Because they have already taken Humanities 103, he said. Have you noticed? Nearly half your engineering class started dating over break, and the rest are planning to ask someone out within the next week. You're the only one who won't. They'll never believe you if you tell them, because if you tell them, you'll seem bitter. What about the others, the ones who are just taking the first class with me now? They may believe you at first, he said, but eventually they will succumb. There are 3 humanities courses after all. As your college career goes on, you will be the only one of your kind and therefore discredited. I was stunned. I did the only thing I could do. I packed up my bag and left. The next few days were tough. I began wandering the campus again, and eventually I found myself on Memorial Lawn. And there they were, the bunch of super nerds right out there swinging their own weapons. Dagger. I've seen these loonies before, but I'd never watched closely until now. And soon, one of them ran up to me. Hey man, want to join? Frustration bubbled up inside of me and made me angry enough to say yes. I wanted to take that cloth-covered foam sword and storm the engineering office, laying waste to all around. But I still needed my degree. Settle for thrashing these nerds. I was out of my mind. Even after the freshman 15, I'm still a featherweight, and these were juniors and seniors, bigger than me and with at least a year's experience on me. I think I hit someone once or twice in those 2 hours, but most of the afternoon was spent with me running up and down the lawn, being chased, tackled, skewered, and whacked with foam weapons. Eventually, I went home tired, bloody, and sore. My physical state, at least, now matched my emotional state. I was beginning to heal. Just as my advisor had predicted, nearly all my classmates were dating by the beginning of February. Boozers. They leave halfway through their assignments to go hang out with their new girlfriends. I kept going back to Daggerhide to vent my frustration. I was getting better. I mean, I normally survived at least the first 2 strikes. Despite being excessive nerds and quoting Monty Python too much, they turned out to be great people. Unfortunately, they only met a couple times a week, so I still had more time to learn. I threw all my effort into the engineering classes, and I learned something. Engineering isn't actually so bad when you understand what you're doing. The other engineers in my class had to put in longer hours because of their divided attention. I started to enjoy working through the problems because I had enough time to learn them. Having no other life made me one of the better students, which fed my competitive ego. I was enjoying myself so much that I asked about being a teacher's assistant for computer science, and the professor agreed. April came around, and we had another advisor. I was not enthusiastic about seeing my advisor again, but when I opened the door, she seemed happy enough to see me. Good afternoon, he said. How are your classes going? Well enough, I said. Here's my list of courses for next semester. He took it and set it on his desk. How is your humanities class? You know how it's going, I said. It's a waste of time. You said there's no chance of me getting a girlfriend, so why bother? He picked up his class list. My class list. I heard you joined Daggerhide, he said. Yeah. And you're going to be a teacher's assistant? Starting next semester. Do you remember why we forced you to take humanities? Because there were no women in engineering? No, he said. You are in humanities to learn about the good life. Yeah, but it's a waste of time for me. He said this. I said there was no hope of you finding a girlfriend, but a good life does not depend on being in a relationship. C.S. Lewis in The Four Loves said that friendship has no survival value, but rather gives value to survival. Ecclesiastes says that there's nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. Do you think our work was pointless? Cogs were spinning. Wait, but you said it. I told you exactly what you needed to hear. You joined Daggerhide out of frustration, but you found friendship there. You became a TA after loving your coursework. Do you think we failed in our purpose? You manipulated me! Really. You know, you are an unusual engineer, but still human. So if I've already found the good wife, I said, does that mean no? You still must take Humanities 203 and 303. But I didn't learn anything in 103, I said. He smiled that horrible checkmate smile. Oh, really? So there you have it, my friends. That was only my freshman year. I learned that not all learning goes on in the classroom. I learned to love my major. I made awesomely nerdy friends, and some of them are here tonight. But what I will never forget is this. No matter what you do, where you go, or even who you are always, always in the shadow of the engineering faculty. Everything around you is under their control, always ready to manipulate your life. Because, let's face it, they're engineers. They live to solve problems.
All right, take a 10-minute break. Biff Cat Coffee is on the way. See you soon.
Guys, we're amazing.